Welcome back to Eat Sleep Boxing Repeats YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined once again by Gregory Doyle. Greg, we're here for another look back. We are looking back at the second fight between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. We've done it once. We're going to do it again. We're going to watch the third fight in a couple of days' time. But yeah, we're here to look back at that second fight. How are you?
Very well, thanks, Elliot. Cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Good, ready to go again. Really enjoy
You know me.
doing videos. But yeah, just obviously doing these videos make you look forward to the trilogy that's going to happen on Saturday. Now I know we're both staying up for it. It will be in the early hours of Sunday morning. But yeah, cannot wait. In last time out, we reviewed the first fight, which ends up being a draw, as we all know. Second fight was a very narrow Canelo win. Obviously, like the first fight, you had this person saying Canelo won, this person saying Golovkin won. Maybe could have been another draw, who knows? But Canelo won the fight. And yeah, we're just going to kind of start from the beginning, really. I think most people would know how it goes now. We talk about some key moments from the fight. We're not going to do kind of round by round commentary or analysis, but we're analyzing full key moments from the fight, and then we'll have a couple of discussion points here and there. First question is I've got really for you, mate, is what were like, can you give me one or two key differences between the first fight and the second fight? Both fights at middleweight, both fights went the distance, both fights close in a lot of people's eyes. What were like both fights were one thing I just realized today was the two fights were exactly 1 year apart as well, if that's relevant at all. But what would you say the key differences were between the two fights there?
Yeah. For me, I think the main difference was with Canelo. I've spoken to you guys previously and I've said that, which will come to, I've got my issues with the second fight, but Canelo looked like a proper man in the second fight. In the first, he looked like a boy who was stepping up from light middleweight and was trying to like kind of hang with the best. In the second fight, there was something different about him. Elliot. He looked more of an established man who believed in himself. I think that had a huge part in this fight. And the second thing, which I don't want to be too negative, Golovkin's always getting older. He's always getting older. So yeah, I think those are the two things for me. Canelo came into himself and Golovkin was trying to maintain who he was. So yeah, that for me.
Yeah, and obviously kind of post that fight, Canelo just went on this kind of amazing run at middleweight and super middleweight. You don't need me to name the fighters that he beat: Daniel Jacobs, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, others included. Obviously had that fight against Sergey Kovalev as well before kind of losing to Bivol earlier this year. But yeah, this was kind of, you could maybe say this was the start of Alvarez's kind of dominance, perhaps, in being that pound for pound star, up until losing to Bivol earlier this year. Cool. We will get started then. First key discussion point is round one. I know you were a bit surprised with how Canelo started this fight, but yeah, if you're able just to talk us through it, that'd be great.
Yeah, so round one, I'm really surprised. I think we all were. Elliot, who thought that somebody would come out and walk forward at Gennady Golovkin? That's suicide. It's actual suicide. Why are you going to stand in front of the most destructive puncher in boxing and use that as your game plan? But what a lot of people maybe don't understand or realise is that by doing that, Canelo's got great upper body movement. So if somebody like throws, he knows how to lean back very quickly and come in with shots. And I think that that's where he used his on the front foot mentality. It's a tough one because there was times where Golovkin looked as though that it could still hurt Canelo early on, but Canelo really made a point of taking centre ring. And that first round, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, he's like, he knows what he's like now, and he's not scared of him. He's not even scared of his power. And I think that was a big telling point going forward in the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of why do you think he went with that game plan? Obviously, kind of Golovkin, as we know, Golovkin was just this massive destructive puncher. Do you think that do you think that would have taken Golovkin by surprise? And do you think Golovkin reacted well to Canelo's first round?
I think it massively took Golovkin by surprise because Golovkin had a career chasing people.
Mm,
Nobody stood in front of him.
mm,
And do you know what? I think you could count on one hand the amount of middleweights in history that would have stood in front of him. So I think it really did take him by surprise, but it's almost like Canelo knew what he was up against. He had the fear of the first fight because, like I said to you in the previous video, Canelo lost that fight. He did.
yeah,
Golovkin won it, but I think he knew what he was up against. I think he thought, I've took his power. He's not going to get any better than he was the first fight. He was always going to be getting older, really, and I just think he fancied it. I really think he fancied it. I think he just thought that I could be so much better than I was in the first fight. And yeah, I think it totally took Golovkin off guard. And in reaction to how Golovkin was in the first round, I still think there's a hidden arrogance behind Golovkin, and I like it. I
mm,
really like it.
mm,
I think he's one of these guys, he knows what he's all about.
mm,
He's so self confident, which is such a, you're drawn to a trait. When someone's got that trait, you're drawn to it. And yeah, I think he just thought, this is a start. Canelo's not going to keep this up, and do you know what? I'll get to him. So yeah, interesting stuff.
yeah. No, really interesting. Okay, we will fast forward to round six, halfway point of the fight. I know that
Yeah.
a good round for Canelo.
Mhm.
I think I'll let you I'll let you take the stage again, but a good round for Canelo, kind of as we've mentioned, but it began to counter Golovkin a lot. Maybe didn't do that
Yeah.
enough in the first fight. Who knows? But what were your we're kind of in the halfway point of the fight now. Scorecards, I imagine, still close. Imagine people still debating over who was winning. But what were your thoughts on the fight around this stage?
Yeah, it was an interesting one, Elliot. I think that I had Canelo up, but Golovkin's always capable. And specifically in that round, you'll notice that Canelo started going to the body. And I don't think anyone's ever had the balls to stand in front of Golovkin and start really going to the body. And he reacts very uncomfortably when you go to the body. I'm not saying for a minute that Golovkin's hurt, but there's something a bit robotic about him that when he gets hit to the body, he doesn't look the same after he's been hit there. It's if it bothers him a lot. And from previous experience, like the body's so much worse than the face. It really is horrible. I can't even describe it, but
Mm,
it really isn't nice. But Golovkin, he takes the shots fairly. Like, it's not like he's greatly hurt, but it doesn't matter who you are. If you're getting hit with them shots, they're going to slow you down stages, and you're not going to be able to throw the same way because number one, you're going to be worried about what's coming back, and number two, it drains some of your energy away. So it's amazing tactics by Canelo. It's just really, really good tactics. Um, he knows that Golovkin's not the fastest puncher,
mm.
so he waits for the lead and then he counters to the body and finishes to the head. And it's just beautiful to watch. It really, really is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, it's just so interesting to discuss tactics and who had the upper hand in this fight compared to the last fight. Because if you consider that, most people would agree that Golovkin won the first fight. It's interesting to see things kind of switch over only a year later, as well as kind of looking forward to this fight, which is 4 years after the rematch in a different weight division. Golovkin's now 40, so you've got to take all these factors into consideration.
Of course.
Fast forwarding again, round 10. Feel like, I mean, for what we've not mentioned really is that how this was kind of another great fight. It
Yeah.
was another back and forth fight. Let's not forget that. But
Yeah.
both fighters having success. The sort of rounds that we're used to seeing between these two, I think it's fair to say was round 10. But again, what I understood from this round was you could maybe see Canelo having the upper hand in this round, and therefore over most of the course of the fight. Nearing the end of the fight now, but what were your thoughts when round 10 was popping off?
round 10 was a cracker, Elliot. Probably, well, yeah, do you know what? It might be the best round of the fight because it's almost like, here we go. We're back to round 12 and fight one. It's just back and forth action. Both guys just think, do you know what? I'm going to have a go here. And they're both not scared. I don't even think it comes into question that they're scared is the word. But sometimes in these high profile fights, these guys have got to think ahead and think, whether you're scared or not, you've really got to think about what's coming back at you and how the judges might see it. But it's almost like in this round, they just go, do you know what? You honestly think I'm going to let you away with that right hand? Wait till I show you what I've got coming in a minute. So it's a back and forth round. I think that both guys kind of get to each other. I think Golovkin hurts them a little bit in round 10. I remember listening to the commentary and I thought, I don't know if he's hurt at first, but you see Canelo's body language, and I think he is a little bit. But he comes back and he fires some great shots to show Golovkin, like, I can counter you anytime I feel like it. And it's just a beautiful round of boxing. It is just the pinnacle of the sport. The two guys who are at the pinnacle coming at each other, and they're both so super confident, even at that point in the fight. Mate, that's stunning to watch. It's just stunning.
There's just something about that round where like both their faces are marked up. You can tell they've really been in a fight. It's the latter rounds of the rematch. We're getting to rounds kind of 21, 22 now that these guys have come up against each other now.
Yeah.
I imagine both of the fighters knew it was close. I think it would have been really interesting at this point what both corners were saying to the fighters then. But I feel like you could tell then both fighters were just, I don't want to say desperate, but we're coming towards the end of a rematch in which they were both kind of desperate to win. You kind of got to say it. Cool. We're going to finish off with round 12, funnily enough. You make a good point when you say like Golovkin looked like he still had something left. And that's something I want to dive a little bit more into with you, but I'll let you kick things off with this round.
Yeah, no. All I feel about that round, Elliot, is when did you ever in his career see Gennady Golovkin on his toes? Never mind in round 12 of a fight. He's on his toes. He's throwing a jab. He's almost, it's like, I don't want to turn around and come across like I'm patronising Triple G, but it's almost like he's learned to kind of sometimes see that kind of energetic on your toes throwing a jab. That looks to the judges like this guy's in control. It's almost like he learned what the judges might be looking for at some stages. It's frustrating. You know, Elliot, I said this the first video. I need to say it the second. I'll probably say it when we review the third. I love both guys. They're my favourite fighters in boxing. I think you know that. And I remember being so frustrated with Golovkin because he had something left in that 12th round that he should have thrown in round 8.
Yeah.
And at times I think that's what kind of cost him, but he had a good 12th round. Both guys did, but Golovkin just looked that bit more. He had something left, and I don't like to see that. But when you're in against a guy like Canelo, who's on the front foot, he's a master at moving his upper body back and forth. You can't exactly empty the tank against a guy like that. You need to be careful.
Yeah.
But it's almost like he kind of found himself again in the 12th round, and it was just frustrating. But what a round, Elliot. Both guys were great again. Just Golovkin looked as though, I need this, and he did need that 12th round. Let's not lie about it. He did need it.
And you think he won? Do you think he won that round? It's a tough question. It's a tough question.
It is because honestly, Elliot, I'm going to tell you this now. Apart from maybe the last half of the first fight, there's a lot of rounds you could score 10-10. And that fight with the two of them, there is so many back and forth action that you think, oh, well, Canelo probably... You end up sitting looking at the fight, Elliot, like a judge. You don't actually look at it like a fan. You think, well, there was a part at 1 minute 43 where Canelo landed like a 3 or 4 punch combination and there wasn't really anything else around and that could have won it. But you need to kind of try and separate yourself away and think, who'd done the better work?
Yeah.
And for me, I think Golovkin might have just done the better work in round 12. I need to go back for the 4th or 5th time and watch it. But I do believe, thinking back on it, I think that was a Golovkin round.
Yeah, big time. Cool. And there's like, and there we have it. Obviously, I remember when I watched this fight, I I was happy for either fighter to win. I thought it was another
Yeah,
close fight.
yeah,
But I think that, like, in terms of my scorecard, I thought that Canelo had edged it. But I thought
yeah,
again, like, I thought it was super close, and just thought
yeah,
that it was I don't want to say a cruel way for Golovkin's undefeated record to go, but it was unfortunate for a fight that was so close against such a great fighter to just lose out. But what was your interested to hear how you scored the fight as well?
yeah. He could beat Elliot. He got beat. It was close, but I think I had it maybe 115, 112 Canelo from previous watching the fight and trying to think just trying to think of it's difficult because you look at these rounds and you think, like I say, some of them can be 10-10 and it's so hard to dissect it sometimes, but Canelo won the second fight. Golovkin won the first and he should have got it. And I think that's sometimes why I've got a chip in my shoulder. See, when you're fond of two fighters and one doesn't get treated the way they deserve, it almost turns you against the other fight, and you need to separate yourself from that. When I watched that fight, I'm pretty sure I had it about 115, 112 Canelo. A very good close fight, but yeah, I think the right man won. I think that he had Golovkin's number in the second fight, which leads us on to a tasty third fight.
Yeah, absolutely, and we will see what happens. As I mentioned before, we've had to wait 4 years for a third fight, so we've had to wait a decent amount of time.
I didn't realise that's how long it was, Elliot.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
I really didn't think it was that long. Wow.
Yeah, it's weird how all 3 fights will have happened like mid-September. I think it's really strange. Yeah, but yeah, really, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, really exciting. Looking forward to this third fight. We're nearly there now. I think I know you've picked Canelo to win the third fight.
Yeah.
How There's some people who think it's going to be straightforward for Canelo. There's some people who think it's going to be another classic fight. It's going to go the distance, but Canelo's going to win again. What do you think's more likely? Do you think it's more likely Canelo becomes the first man to stop Golovkin? Or do you think it's more likely that we'll get a repeat of the first and second fights, in the sense that we'll get another fight that goes the distance, is very close on points? What do you think's more likely out of those two? If Canelo does win, how easy a win will it, or how hard a win will it be for Canelo?
I find it so difficult because my heart breaks at the thought of being cruel about one of them, and I'm really fond of Golovkin, but I just think I look at the Murata fight and I just seen so many opportunities that Canelo could take advantage of.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that because I love Golovkin, and it really, I take it quite personally how avoided he was in his career, because Golovkin should have had a career like Marvin Hagler, like a Thomas Hearns, and nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him, and there wasn't enough money behind him for somebody to. He didn't sell out stadiums, he didn't sell out arenas for crazy reasons, I don't know, but that held him back. But I look at this fight now, I have to be honest, and I just think Canelo's not going to be on top of his game, because there's going to be a bit of confidence gone there. Because at times Bivol gave him a bit of a lesson. At times, if it means anything, I think if they had a rematch, I think Canelo beats him. I genuinely do. I just think he'll learn. I think he's Canelo's a sponge. He takes everything in, he learns from it. But I see speed going with Golovkin. I see legs going with Golovkin. He still punches hard. He still has the determination. I think he's going to give it a right good go for 6 or 7 rounds. But if he does not hurt Canelo, I just see Canelo getting him late. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it goes the distance. I hope it's a classic. And do you know what? For me personally, I wouldn't mind another draw or Golovkin winning, only because I love both of them. And I want it to be like a classic boxing rivalry. But I have to be honest, mate, I just think Canelo will get him late. I just think further time catches everyone. And I think it's Golovkin's time.
We shall see. We shall see. Looking forward to it. It's been great reviewing the second fight with you, mate. Just kind of makes you look forward to the trilogy even more. Trilogies rarely happen, so kind of let's appreciate and enjoy them when they do, especially between two great fighters in Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. That's all for now. We will speak in the week. We will speak post fight. But yeah, looking forward to the early hours of Sunday morning, Canelo versus Golovkin 3. Thanks very much, Greg.
Thanks, Elliot. Appreciate your time.